Today, I'm going to share one of my favorite theories with you. G'day, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Tim. I'm a writer, I'm an educator, and I'm a reader. And today I'd like to share one of my favorite theories of all time. But first, I'm in my famous thinking spot. I'm down the coast, back in Australia. I filmed my very first video in this location right here. And I just wanted to bring it back. It's almost been a year. It's almost been a full circle moment. And I just wanted to appreciate being here. There is going to be some bird sound, as you can currently hear. There's going to be some ocean crashing, a bit of wind, a bit of noise in the background, and I hope that's okay. Before I launch right in, I'm going to tell you a little story about why this spot is special to me. 15 years ago, on an outdoor education day trip, my teacher at the time, Nev, brought me out to this location. We ended up doing a 2-hour solo, which is essentially getting put in the bush for 2 hours by yourself with only your thoughts and only your reflections. It was the first time I fell in love with reflection. And as I sat in this spot, overlooking the ocean, the waves rolling in, and the shimmer of the leaves and the honesty of a place, I discovered something about myself. And now 15 years later, it is the place I come back to most frequently if I get the opportunity, because it is the thing that clarifies my thoughts in a way. I hope you have a spot like that. I hope you have a place where you can go to and it just really allows you to be you in that place, in that location. Anyway, let me introduce you to one of my favorite theories on how I judge art. Over the years, I've ebbed and flowed on whether I even should judge art. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have a healthy balance in the middle. And I think it's less about judging art, but seeing and hearing and representing the things that matter in a timely manner. So let me introduce you to the bush theory. It's a rather simple theory, but I think is incredibly effective. There was a period of my life where I was going into the bush every single week. I was an outdoor education teacher at the time, and it was my job to go camping. It was pretty brilliant, actually. I really loved it. And things simplify in the bush. It gets quiet. There is only the noise of nature and your own thoughts. And so if you are going to introduce something in the bush, whether it be a book, whether it be an album, whether it be whatever piece of art, it feels like it's incredibly important. It feels like it has to matter. And over the years, I discovered this idea that the bush really eliminates pieces of art that don't matter in the same timely way. I'm not making this video to go all negative. I'm not going to give you any examples of the things that don't matter, but I did want to discuss this idea because I think it's a really cool way to really discover if those things matter. In the noise of society, in the noise of the world, in the noise of cities and places, I feel like it's really hard to get clear of the noise, to really knuckle down and see what it is that matters in terms of art. And this is the first book that did this for me. You Can't Kill Us Until You Kill Us by Hanif Arduqib. This was a book that I was reading in the Northern Territory, in the bush, by myself, sitting there on a lazy afternoon. And for the first time, as I was reading this book, I realized that this felt important. The essays in this work, and the essays on things that don't matter. And this is kind of how I came up with this idea in the first place. But they're essays on things about music and culture and ideas and thoughts and reflections and Chance the Rapper and Fall Out Boy and the punk rock scene. And those are all things that don't matter when you're in the bush. So as I sat there consuming these essays, and they felt really important because of the content that was within them, I realized the things that I'd read over the years while out in the bush that felt like they hadn't mattered. And it was about a year later that I discovered this idea in a different waveform. William Finnegan in Barbarian Days calls it the Outback Test. As he was driving across Australia in a beat up Falcon, I think it was. He had this stack of New York Times magazines, and between him and his friend Brian, they would read it aloud to one another, and found that some of their favorite writers in the world didn't hold up to the Outback Test. And perhaps the things they were saying didn't matter in the same way that they thought when they were reading them within different parts and different contexts and different places. And so this thing that I had discovered on my own, I found that a few different people had been thinking that way for a long period of time as well. It's the consumption of art in a medium, but if you strip back the environment and strip back the elements and strip back that timely manner, that you can kind of read at your own pace, and this really beautiful time that you get outdoors in the world around everything else. What does that piece of art feel like? That's the core of it. That's the crux of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that that book or that article or that album doesn't feel like it matters. It is more that it feels like it matters more. It doesn't mean that those pieces of writing and that music piece is a bad music piece. It doesn't mean that it's a well-crafted bit of work. But what it means is that if you were to remove all the elements of society and you were to take it just in the bush, does it feel like it's still important? Does it feel like it's something worth saying? Does it feel like it changes you in one way, shape, or form? And as I read this I think at the second time, I think I had already loved it the first time. As I read this the second time, it felt like it mattered. And so I did a theory, I did a test, and I've been doing that test for, call it 7 years at this point. The test is simple. If I really love something in the real world, I take it into the bush. I take it into the bush and find out that if I read it in the bush, does it still make me feel that way? That is often how I get a gauge for if I feel the work is important. And over the years, I've done the same thing with my own work. I've taken my own work out into the bush. I've read the words that I've written, and I'll either edit it or I will see if I feel like it's important. And truthfully, the answer is often not. Often it doesn't feel important. Often I change things. Often I rework that piece. Often I change what it is that I think is important in that context. It's weird, right? But it feels valuable in some way. And so I don't have the same freedom to get out into the bush as often as I used to. That used to be part of my job. That used to be part of my world. That was my life. And I was going through and consuming books and consuming albums in particular and seeing how they felt when you strip back everything else. Now I sort of have to create it myself. I can go out into the bush, but often what I do is I will turn my phone on airplane mode, leave it in a different room, remove headphones, remove any technology. That includes like a watch. That includes all of the things that we are constantly doing. And I try to really strip back and read it in its natural form and give the art the full attention. I'm not saying that art that doesn't meet this theory is bad art, because it's not. Some of it's fantastic. But what I really think about quite often is, can it meet this standard of if you silence everything and you remove every element other than just your own thoughts in that moment in time, does the art move you? And some of my favorite pieces of work have never lived up to this test. And it's this funny theory that I've come up with that really doesn't matter one way or another, but I thought I would share it with you today because I love this theory and I like thinking about this theory. And so if you want to incorporate this theory, I'm going to give you 3 things that you need to do in order to incorporate this theory and try it out for yourself. First and foremost, if you can get out into the bush, if you can get out into nature, leave your phone behind, leave all of your technology behind, and just have it you and yourself with a book sitting in a quiet place, that's great. If you can't, recreate that in the way that you can. As I said before, phone, airplane mode, different room, maybe leave the house, go to a park, whatever that happens to look like. The second thing is trying to read, listen, or consume with an open mind. Think about how it connects with your feelings, thinking about how it connects with your heart and your brain and your matter and your being. Think about why you still love it. Think about why you care about it. Think about long extended periods of time with only you and this piece of work. And the third is to have fun with it. It's not meant to be this big, serious thing. It's meant to be a thing that you enjoy and something that you judge to try learn what matters to you and what you like and what kind of art is worth your time and attention. I don't sit here and compare it to other bits of art. I'm not considering other books. I'm just considering this book in this moment, in this point in time, and consuming it in a way that allows me to think, reflect, learn, discover, and really take into my own art form those pieces that matter and see if I can do the same thing in one way, shape, or form. Anyway, that's the Bush test theory. It's this simple idea that I concocted because I love art. And truthfully, I don't know if this video is valuable in any way, shape, or form. You can go out into the bush, discover it, find out for yourself if you'd like, I guess. Don't do that. But I do really like sharing some of these thoughts that I've been having, and they've just been sort of internal thoughts for a really long time. What I will say is during COVID, I tried making a little series of this on, I think at the time I was using Medium, and I wrote probably 4 or 5 different articles that I wrote on pieces of art that I felt like they mattered, and I called it the Bush test, and it was fun. It was a fun little series. So if you enjoyed this video in any way, comment below, let me know in the comments if you would like me to make a little series of things that I think pass the Bush test, and I will continue writing them for my Substack if that's of interest of anyone, because I was thinking about it today and I miss it, and I miss doing that kind of thing. And really what I miss is getting out into nature and just really being there with myself, with books and reading and being part of that world. Let me know in the comments below because I would appreciate that. If you enjoyed this video, please comment. Let me know that you enjoyed it in one way, shape, or form. And as I overlook the ocean right now, it's looking gorgeous. And in this favorite thinking spot of mine, I fly back to Canada in a couple of days here, and I'm just appreciative for all of it. I appreciate you checking out any of my videos. I appreciate you getting this far. I appreciate the world that we live in, and I really want to be part of change and things that matter. And that is kind of why I shared this bush test with you today, and in my favorite thinking spot in the world, in just this location that I at times can't believe is real, that's been part of my life for over 15 years, and is, if you ask me to go to my safe, quiet place, this is it. This is where I go in my head. So I just thought I would share that with you today. And thanks for watching, and I will see you back here in the next video. Anyway, in the meantime, take care of one another, and I'll see you back here next week. Oh, and I absolutely filmed this video last time and I was squinty, and I'm also squinty this time because of just the nature of where the sun sits and is pushing and the glare and everything else. But yeah, maybe one day I'll work out how to not have that. Anyway. Whew.